Endurance Junkie Podcast, episode 11. Hey, what's up, Junkie? Welcome to another Monday episode of the Endurance Junkie Podcast, the show where I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. And joining me today is Nate Pearson, and Nate is one of the three co-founders of TrainerRoad, training software that has developed a bit of a cult following in the last couple of years and is supposed to make any cyclist and triathlete faster. Nate, thanks for taking the time to talk to us here today. Before we get into things, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your sporting background and how you ended up doing triathlon?
Yeah, so in about 2008, I was just graduated from college, maybe 2 or 3 years out, and the way that I got inspired is I was at a bar and there was a bartender there, and he was completely bald, but he was so like low body fat. He looked like he didn't have any hair on him, and he just looked so ripped. And I talked to him for a while, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do an Ironman." And in my head, that seemed like so impossible to do. Like I'm like, you, how far do you run? What? And I couldn't run like 2 or 3 miles at the time. So that kind of inspired me, and I looked up and I found out there were sprint triathlons. So I started to look into that, and then I found I was a software engineer at the time at a Fortune 500 company, and some people there said, "Oh, there's this other guy named Reed who you should talk to. He's a big time triathlete." So I went to his cubicle and we started talking about triathlons, and I did one, and I think I got like I wasn't super horrible, but I was right in the middle of the pack, and I was pretty hooked, and it was a lot of fun.
As most people do after their first one. I think suffering all the way to the finish line and cursing and saying, "I'm never doing this again."
Yeah.
Once you cross that finish line, it's like, okay, when's the next one?
I know. During it, you're like, I should have swam more. I still have that same feeling.
So what kind of races did you do, and did you go up all the way to Ironman?
Yeah, I probably went too quickly up to Ironman. I think I did 1 year of like sprints and Olympics, and then I was like, okay, I can do this, and I signed up for a bunch of halves, and I didn't do one of the halves, and I signed up for Ironman Coeur d'Alene, and I was pretty fast, relatively fast for me before that, and then I don't think I executed my Ironman very well. I think I did a 4:56 at the half at New Orleans, and then like 3 months later I did a 12:37 or 12:47 at Ironman Coeur d'Alene, and since then I've said, you know what, I don't have time for the Ironman training, but I still enjoy the half distance. So I've done Vineman a couple times, and then I'm going to do there's a challenge series. I think you guys are familiar with that in Europe.
Oh yeah. I just had Felix on a couple of days before, and he just announced like the big Rev 3 merger. So the challenge races, they're awesome. If they're in town or close to you, make sure to sign up, because these are awesome races. Yeah,
we have a new race coming about 2 hours from my house, which is really close, because there's not many tries in Reno. Like, actually, we have Lake Tahoe next weekend, so I shouldn't say that. We have an Ironman about 30 minutes away that just came there, but other than that, I have to travel pretty far for all my races. So I'm very excited about that, and I was going to actually end my season early, but I have a buddy who challenged me, and it's just on. I don't think I've ever trained so hard. He's way faster on the run than me, and I'm way faster than him on the bike. So
that could be interesting.
It's going to be good, yeah.
Cool. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
Now, the reason why I'm calling you here today is because you're one of the co-founders of TrainerRoad.com. Can you explain to us a bit what it is and the story behind the company?
Yeah, so TrainerRoad is all about making triathletes and cyclists faster. So we give structured indoor interval training on trainers, and we do that by picking up people's live power, heart rate, speed, and cadence, and displaying them in software on the desktop or soon coming iOS app as they ride. So it's all live feedback. So what they do is they sign up and they do a fitness assessment, which is called an FTP test, and they generate an FTP. And for those of you who don't know, FTP is like it's the measuring stick in power. It's kind of like how much you bench in weightlifting. And based on that FTP, we scale training plans and every workout to your fitness level. So someone signs up, they pick a plan, they do a test, they do 6 weeks of training structured interval training, and then they retest, and they keep doing that, and then choose different training plan tracks based on what their goals are. If you're a triathlete or a cyclocross racer, that's very different types of training.
And the cool thing is basically that this whole system, it's just a software, and it sort of hooks up onto every indoor trainer that is out in the market.
Yeah, so what we do is we pick up any Ant Plus or Bluetooth Smart fitness device. So a lot of people train, we'll hook up directly to their power meters, and then that's great because we can show your power directly on screen. But a lot of people can't afford power meters. So what we do is called virtual power, and we've taken the power curve of just about every trainer out there. I'll take the Kinetic Road machine, for example. That has a very stable power curve. So if you're going 22 miles per hour, we can say you're putting out 220 watts. Then as your speed increases, we display more watts on the screen. So we've developed an algorithm to figure out the watts for that. And what the rider does is they just have to put a speed sensor on their bike and make sure their setup is the same, because we don't have a way right now to measure the rolling resistance. So if they tighten down the rear tire the same, do the air pressure the same, and keep the same tire, then they can get really consistent numbers. So day to day, they'll be doing 10-minute intervals at 220 watts. And every day that'll be the same. And then when they go to 230, they know they got stronger. So the analogy for that I gave is if you go in the gym and all the gyms and all the weights were 5 pounds off, but they were always 5 pounds off, you could still get really strong because you could progress through your training load correctly. And then we also hook up to CompuTrainers and Wahoo Kickers and Power Beam Pros and stuff like that directly and control the resistance on those.
Okay, cool. As you said, there's quite a lot of power meters already out there on the market. What made you develop this kind of software?
Yeah, so I was busy. I thought I would, I have a business now, and when I thought I was busy, I really wasn't busy. So I have 2 kids now, but I thought I was busy in college, and right when I graduated from college, and I was doing CompuTrainer classes, and they cost $20 a time, and it took maybe tear down and set up and driving took an hour, then the actual workout took an hour, and I couldn't afford the $20, and it was also I was eating into my party time at night, which probably wasn't good for training. So I thought, I can do this. So I talked to my friend Reed, who I talked about before. I said, we should write this software. We're software engineers. We can do this. And so we started writing it, and we got a little proof of concept up. And then we actually talked to the coach who owned the CompuTrainer studio. He owned 3 of them. And he was a big coach locally, and he's really good at making workouts and training plans that are, not too hard or not too easy. I think we've tried making training plans, but they just turn out, how you make it yourself and you make it way too hard, and after 2 weeks you burn out. So he's an actual coach. He's an elite level cycling coach, and we brought him in. So he has ownership in the company too, and that's how we started going on it. And I think I developed it. It took about 18 months, I think. So I was working a full-time job, and then breakfast, or before work, during lunch, I would drive to this fast food restaurant and work in my car in the parking lot. And then after work, I'd work pretty late, until midnight. And then I'd get up and do it again. And then all the weekends I would work on it while having a full-time job. And we launched a beta about 3 years ago now. And it kind of got some traction early on. So we were lucky enough to quit our jobs after about 3 months of that. And now we have 13 employees, and we're getting bigger. So hopefully this winter will be a good winter for us.
Yeah, well, definitely will be. You're doing this as a side, on the side for when you started. And did you quit your job when you were you still in the beta phase, or was it already the version that we know now?
We did. How long was our beta? Our beta was for a month or a little bit more. But then we switched over to everyone pay. And I think after about 2 months of that, I had quit. And so we were getting signups every day on our site. And the day that I was going to put in my
your notice?
Yeah, my notice. I went to my boss, and I waited till 3 p.m. And that day I didn't have a single sign up. And I was like, oh no, this is fate trying to tell me something. So as soon as I quit, my all the signups came in retroactively. I don't know how it worked, but it was just fate messing with me. But
what did you guys do in the beginning to get your name out there and to have people sign up?
Yeah, I think I was on the wattage forum and a couple guys picked it up. How we think the best way to grow is to do really good support and build advocacy. So, and we don't really we tried some marketing and stuff. I have some horror stories about bad marketing money spent, but we didn't just buy. Okay, I will tell. One of them we did is we did Google AdWords. So Google contacted us and they did this sales job in me, and I totally fell for it. They're like, every month or every quarter we pick a couple health and fitness companies, and they get to work with the actual AdWords team. And so the AdWords team will build your ads for you and then tweak them based on Google Analytics and how it's been going. And I said, usually you pay companies to do that for you, and it costs a whole bunch of money. And who would be better than the actual AdWords team? So they're like, yeah, but you got to be part of the company or be part of this program. Like, how much money you're willing to spend? And they kind of pushed me up. And at the end, I was like, okay, this is going to be a big shot for us. I'm going to spend $20,000 on it, which is a lot of money for us. Yeah. And so we started it and we went through it. And I'm like, I didn't feel good about the ads. I'm like, people don't really buy this kind of, because you choose TrainerRoad and you stick with it for many months and you choose like a path. And like just one sentence of like, we'll make you faster or something like that. And at Google AdWords isn't really a hook. And how we think to do it is we make our current members faster and then they sell their friends, right? They get faster and their friends say, what are you doing? And that's an easy sell, right? Rather than the company trying to tell people that. And so that's worked really well, having our successful people tell people, and we've grown that way. But so Google AdWords, we went through, we spent $20,000. We had meetings with Google. I'm like, I just don't feel good about this. And in the end, how many signups we got? And we charged $10 a month. So I won't have you guess, but we had 4 signups for $20,000 spent. So ouch. I could literally like just go to a race and hand out $100 bills to people, be like, sign up. And that would have worked much better than doing Google AdWords. So our strategy is to build advocacy through really good support, because it can be kind of confusing having a whole bunch of devices and, how does this connect and stuff? And people drop us an email and we can answer it really quickly. I think our number one problem with speed cadence is people leave the magnet off the rear wheel because they have like a different wheel or something indoors, and they don't put the magnet on, so it doesn't pick up any speed. Things like that we can just help people out with.
So they start ringing you with these stupid questions, but in the end, that's what keeps them happy campers, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's not stupid questions because it's not like we're trying to make our app even more intuitive, actually. So if you don't get speed, like we have a speed sensor connected, but we don't get any speed, that we tell you, hey, check the magnet, right, to make that whole process easier. But yeah, so that's what we're trying to go for.
Cool. Like you started 3.5 years ago, and has the software developed a lot since that first launch?
Oh yeah, we've added so many things. We went really fast, and probably a little bit too fast on the desktop app, that the code is a little bit on the back end, and the code works really well, but it's kind of hard to update right now. And since then, we've also redone our website and added a ton of features to that, because there's a whole website component to this. And we were lucky enough to get enough money to hire some, Reed and I call real developers, better than us. And since then, we've for the last 4 or 5 months, we've been developing an iOS app. So that's an iPhone and iPad app. And we just showed that off at Interbike last week. And we have beta testers on that. And right now, the entire company focus is to get the iPhone out the door and into the App Store, and then to do iPad immediately after that. And the way that we've built it, it's 90% of the back end is shareable between iPhone and iPad. So we'll just have to do a couple of views differently on the iPad, and then hopefully get that out ASAP too.
Yeah, cool. Will those be available as free apps?
Yep, it'll be free apps, and then it's all part of, you have to log in and have a subscription with TrainerRoad. So we're either $10 a month or $99 a year.
Yeah, cool. Included in the membership is quite an extensive library of workouts and training plans. Is that your third partner that is writing all those plans? And
yeah, so we're really, really proud of our plans. I think we have maybe 30 plans now, and how they're built is we have base, build, and then specific training plans. So there'll be general fitness base, And then there'll be some kind of build, which is more threshold, and some VO2 max. And then the specific training fitness will be like a cyclocross plan, a mountain bike plan, a 40K TT, which could be used for Olympic triathlon, a half Ironman plan, road racing, things like that, so that you can kind of plan out your whole season and progress the correct way, which a lot of people don't do. And the other, these are all free, actually, included in our plan and including in our membership. So that's I personally feel that when I was poor and couldn't afford those $20 classes, I bought some training plans, and they'd be like $120 for a 6-week plan or a 8-week plan. And then the workouts I was very disappointed about. It would say, go outside and ride for 2 hours and do a burst interval every 5 minutes. And that would be like the whole training plan, the whole workout for that training plan. Well, ours is very specific. And then what we've really worked hard on recently is we have instructional text while you work out. So as you're doing your workout, say it's an hour-long workout, there'll be instructions on pedal technique, efficiency, body position. We'll do out of the saddle drills. During your warm-up, you might do some one-handed drills to build core strength, single leg drills, and just kind of cadence drills. So, if you're going to do what we call like race winners, where you burst for maybe 20 seconds and then you ride over threshold for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, there'll be cadence aspects in that will help you, get faster, and what gearing you should be in, that kind of stuff. So all of that's built in. So I feel like it's such a better deal than kind of those canned training plans you get that are just like, okay, go ride, today's going to be a 30-mile ride. Go ride for 30 miles. That's really not the proper rate of train. And I think it's way too expensive too for what it is.
Yeah, cool. What's in the pipeline for you guys? Any ideas that you want to develop in the future? Yeah.
So, one thing we get asked about, our most vocal users right now are Android users, and they really want an Android app. I suggest if you want Android, you visit our site with your Android phone, because right now I think it's like a over 10-to-1 ratio iPhone, iPad to Android. So we really want to do Android, and we've built our app in a cross-platform way so that Android can be written to. But right now that we just don't have a lot of usage from Android users. I think and then every Android phone, is a little bit different, and especially when you're connecting to an ANT chip or a Bluetooth smart chip, it's even harder to do it. I looked at the ratio, and if you just take our top Android phone, it's really like 100-to-1 ratio between iOS and Android. So Android is something we want to do. I'm just going to say this because people always ask us about it, but as we get more members, we'll have more staff and we can support Android. But right now we're going to focus on iPhone and iOS, and then update our desktop client. And the thing after that we're going to do is live workouts. So there's 2 steps to that. One is, as you're doing a workout, I would like to display my data on the TrainerRoad website and let other people look at that and message me. So that's really cool for like a coaching situation where your coach could get a message or notification on their phone saying, hey, Nate's working out, come look at it. It's also very motivational, because if I'm doing a really hard, like 20-minute interval, and I see that there's like 5 people watching me, even if they're complete strangers, right? You don't know who they are. It just says like, there's like 5 little eyeballs. You're not going to stop, right?
You're not going to back down, that's for sure.
Exactly. And then if you're in a team situation, and TrainerRoad, you can create teams too. So we want the ability. So if I do a workout, everyone on the TrainerRoad team, or anyone on my, my local Reno triathlete team knows about it. And then they would, triathletes are all very supportive of each other. That's a really good way. So that's the first step. The next step after that is to do live group workouts where we could actually all do the same workout together, scale to our fitness level, and share voice and video, and kind of make it like a group's training session locally. Those are the big things on the horizon, and hopefully we can execute that this winter. We've really had to kind of slow down to redo our code base, but now we've got some new hires, and our code base is good, and it's easy to add features. So as soon as we get our iPhone app out, hopefully we can start to run a little faster than we have in the past.
All right, cool stuff. Well, sounds like you guys have your work cut out.
Yeah.
I got some questions coming in through Twitter. One is from Claire Doherty from the UK, and she wants to know if replacing an outdoor cycle with an indoor session, would you reduce the duration and by how much?
That's a good question. So it really depends on what you're doing in the outdoor session compared to the indoor session. We use a measurement called TSS, which is training stress score, and that's a really good way to quantify your effort indoor and outdoor. I think people say the rule of thumb is like, I don't know, 3/4 or 2/3. So like training inside is more efficient because you're never stopping. So it really depends on how you're using that time outside. So if you're going outside and you have to ride for 30 minutes to get to the place where you can work out, the right kind of hills or something, and then you can do your intervals, then you can come home and ride for 30 minutes, then you can take out some of that warm up and cool down indoors. There's also one of my favorite, I don't really, this is a hard workout to do, but one of my favorite half Ironman workouts is I just put my FTP, I lock my interval in at like 85% of my FTP, and I just ride that straight for 2 hours. So I had no stop signs, no, lowering my power. It's just, you nail it, just like you would in a half Ironman. Mm-hmm. And something like that is, I can't do that outside where I live because there's rolling hills. So the downhills will be too much, to be able to do that. Yeah. So something like that, I can kind of I can get in a better workout in less time than outside. But really just to you can't really just say, I'm going to go 50 miles outside. What should I ride inside? There's no good way to do that. I'm sorry, that probably didn't answer your question very well.
Oh, you mentioned you mentioned the 3/4, 2/3, and
yeah.
I think that's about right. And I think it's about what most people do. And of course, you're right. I mean, it depends on the session that you wanted to do outside. If it's an FTP workout or if it's hills, and I think it's a good answer.
Okay, good.
Another one I have is from Matt Fisher, also from the UK, and apparently he's got a watt bike at home, and he wants to know if you guys are planning to link TrainerRoad with watt bike.
Yeah, we actually we can do that right now today. You need a watt bike that outputs amp plus power. Watt bike actually has a page about that.
Maybe that's his problem because he's got an old model. So maybe
I would contact Watt Bike and see if they can get you an upgrade to output amp plus power. But yeah, we've actually worked with Watt Bike to do that. Those bikes are really cool.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for your time, Nate. This has been very interesting. Maybe can you finish off by saying how people can get in touch with you and TrainerRoad, and where can they find you on Facebook, Twitter, etc.?
Yeah, our website is www.trainerroad.com. On Twitter, we're /TrainerRoad, and on Facebook, we're /TrainerRD. This guy in Japan took TrainerRoad, so we don't have that. Yeah, but drop us a line, or you can email us at support@trainerroad.com if you have a question. We'll try to answer it very quickly.
All right, cool. I'll make sure to put these in the show notes. Anything else you want to plug?
No, that's about it. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thanks for your time, Nate. Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.